Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scotty B Show. I got two stories for you from the veterans. First one is Army Sergeant charged with attempted murder in the shootings of 5 Fort Stewart soldiers. A U.S. Army sergeant accused of shooting 5 fellow soldiers at a Georgia base was charged Tuesday with attempted murder, aggravated assault, and domestic violence, as the Army revealed that one of the victims was the suspect's romantic partner. The charges were issued as Sergeant Cornelius Radford made his first appearance Tuesday in a military courtroom at Fort Stewart, where officials say he opened fire with a personal handgun on members of his supply unit. The hearing officer ordered Radford, 28, to remain in pretrial confinement. Radford was arrested August 6 after officials say soldiers disarmed and restrained him until military police arrived. All 5 of the wounded soldiers survived the attack. Radford was charged with 6 counts of attempted murder, the sixth referring to a soldier he shot at and missed, said Michelle McCaskill, a spokesperson, a spokesperson for the Army's Office of Special Trial Counsel, which is prosecuting Radford. Radford also faces 6 counts of aggravated assault and a single count of domestic violence. That charge is there because one of the victims was the intimate partner of the accused, McCaskill said. She said she did not know whether Radford's partner was among the 5 people he wounded. The Army has not released the victims' names. Fort Stewart officials have declined to comment on the shooter's motives. Under military law, attempted murder carries a potential penalty of life imprisonment. Radford was represented by Army defense attorneys at his hearing Tuesday. Phone and email messages left with Fort Stewart's Trial Defense Service were not immediately returned. Now that he's been charged, Radford faces pretrial proceedings to determine whether there is enough evidence for him to stand trial by court-martial. The largest Army post east of the Mississippi River, Fort Stewart is home to thousands of soldiers assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division. It is located about 40 miles, 64 kilometers, southwest of Savannah. Radford served as a supply sergeant in the division's 2nd Armored Brigade. Army records show he enlisted in 2018. Soldiers in Radford's unit said they followed the sound of gunfire into the hallways of an office building where they found hazy gun smoke in the air and wounded victims on the floor in nearby offices. Brigadier General John Lubas, the 3rd Infantry's commander, credited soldiers with saving lives by immediately rendering first aid, in some cases using their bare hands to staunch bleeding gunshot wounds. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll visited Fort Stewart the day after the shootings to award meritorious service medals to 6 soldiers who helped restrain the gunmen and treat the victims. That's been some crazy stuff going on there. See how this comes out in court, what we find out, if we find out anything. Maybe it just pleads guilty and goes away. And we don't know exactly what caused it since they're not telling us. We'll see. Second story is $13 million military drone was lost in the Mediterranean Sea because the propeller fell off. An MQ-9 Reaper drone crashed late last year into the Mediterranean Sea because it lost a propeller, ultimately destroying the entire unmanned aircraft, according to a newly released incident report. The new details released late last month by Air Combat Command revealed some of the circumstances that caused the multi-million-dollar aircraft to be destroyed but still left unanswered questions as the drone was unrecoverable in the sea. The mishap resulted in a complete loss of the aircraft, valued at $13.1 million. However, no fatalities, injuries, or reported damage to civilian property occurred, a news release from Air Combat Command said. The new accident report comes as unmanned aircraft mishaps have seen an overall increase since hitting a low point in 2018. according to Air Force Safety Center data. On December 16, 2024, the MQ-9-9A took off within the European Command's area of responsibility before it experienced a sudden loss of thrust, a deterioration of airspeed, and a gradual descent. The drone was from the 432nd Wing at Creech Air Force Base, Nevada, and was being operated by service members from the 20th Attack Squadron out of White Man Air Force Base, Missouri. Accident Investigation Board President Colonel Rick Schuessler described the mishap as being due to a failure within the splined coupling assembly that led to a sudden and permanent mechanical decoupling of the propeller from the engine, resulting in an unrecoverable loss of thrust, the news release added. General Atomics Aeronautical System Incorporated, the manufacturer of the MQ-9, said the specific part failure was most likely the spiral retaining ring. According to the report, but Schuessler wrote that the definitive cause could not be discerned by a preponderance of the evidence because the wreckage was unrecoverable. The spiral retaining ring has a history of excessive wear and failure. The report detailed, and the aircraft was about halfway through its 3,000 flight hour threshold, after which the part would have been replaced. Air Force Safety Center data shows the service has seen 87 unmanned Class A mishaps, the term used for its deadliest and most expensive crashes in the last decade. Since 2018, which saw 3 Class A unmanned aircraft mishaps, meaning the service's deadliest and most costly incidents, later years have shown an increased number of accidents, according to the data. From 2019 to 2021, there were 6 such crashes each year. In 2022, the service reported reported 4, and then 9 in 2023. In 2024, there were 7 unmanned crash reports. So far in 2025, there have been 3 unmanned Class A mishaps. Well, that's a lot of money that's these mishaps is costing, but $13 million drone lost its propeller. That's some crazy money being spent out there, that's for darn sure. Um, Hope they can get it fixed. Hope they can get it figured out what the heck they're doing wrong. But imagine if airplanes started going down like that. Wow, that'd be crazy. But they still got to take care of these drones and get them running right. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. Hope the stories were uh, interesting. I hope you all have a great day, great night, whatever the case may be. We'll see you next time on the Scotty B Show.